This will probably be hands down the most important video you ever see about the pallet recycling business, about the Simplest Biz. And I want to tell you why I'm going to do in this video and what it's going to be about. I'm going to need to switch screens real quick to start this and give you what precipitated me doing this video to begin with. So I'm going to pause and switch the screen. So this is what got me to do this video. And before I go further, the video is going to be about all the different ways of doing the pallet business, right? Because there's so many different ways and there's so many people out there that have a misconception of the limited amount of ways of doing this. So I want to cover all of them. This comment was made on this particular post that I put up yesterday from a student that just let me know that he's going to be doing a $1 million in revenue for the year 2023 this month. And it was a message between him and I. And I shared that on Facebook. Immediately, some people say, oh, I'm sure this isn't true. I have other comments from people say, well, it doesn't work like that. Or this sounds like a hard work. Or I got to have a truck. Or it's not as easy as you make it sound. Or if it was so easy, everybody was doing it. Or why do you share this information? You know, all these different kind of comments that are from people that understand the pallet business in a very limited way. And I want to cover the difference between how certain people view this particular industry and the way we teach it in the Simplest Biz training as well. And it's a lot of material, and I can assure you by the time you finish this video, you'll have a much clearer understanding of how this works and why we do it the way we do it and why I've been doing it for the last 25 years the way I've been doing it and why I teach it the way I teach it. So watch to the end of this video because each step along the way kind of builds off itself to help you understand the way people view it from the outside looking in and compared to the people that are in the inside looking out who are participating in the Simplest Biz program. Okay? So, again, this was the comment. The gentleman's doing $1 million a year. He's been a student of ours. He's kicking butt. And, you know, this, I love that down at the bottom. Yes, unbelievably amazing. Who would have thunk it? Because pallets are not, you know, the sexiest thing on the planet, as I always say. They're under the radar. Nobody pays attention to them. So let's get down to the brass tacks of it. A lot of people who think about pallets or the pallet business are in the realm of folks that deal with this certain pallet that you see on the screen here. And these are called standard 4840s. And that's the only scenario that they deal with in a vast majority of the cases that they are selling to a pallet yard and getting $1.50, $2, $2.50 per pallet, maybe $3 certain parts of the country. But this is the only pallet they're going after, right? Well, there's problems with that to begin with, and we'll get into that in a minute. But that is their pallet game, selling to pallet yards that deal pretty much exclusively with this type of pallet, okay? So here's another scenario where this individual is only getting this style pallet. If you look back here, a lot of these, if you zoomed in, you could see they're not this style. So they're leaving all this stuff behind, and they're not monetizing any of this, right? They're only going after standard 4840 pallets, and a lot of time selling just to pallet yards, limiting their pallet business, in my opinion. Am I against the 4840? No, but do understand when you're in the 4840 game only, you're competing with the pallet yards and you are competing with the scavengers only going after them. The spinoff effect is they are not serving the supplier in the way they need to be served because they are not dealing with all this, the other issue that the supplier, meaning the business that generates pallets as a byproduct of their business. They have other stuff that they want gone that these people aren't dealing with. They are not solving that problem. So they have a hard time getting exclusivity for this business as being the exclusive person that is in charge of picking up and getting rid of their pallets because they're only getting a portion of them. Okay? So another way of doing this business besides going out there and getting the 4840 and selling the pallet yards, some people think, well, no, you have to repair pallets. You have to have a storage place. You have to have a warehouse to make this work. I've never had a warehouse. I don't repair pallets. Have I done it in the past back in 2003 and 4? Yeah, I did it for a minute. And I did it in the backyard of my house. I had a little shed. But I realized all the time I'm taking to build or repair pallets, I could have picked up perfectly good, lightly used pallets and delivered hundreds of them in the time it took me to fix 50. Okay? So I pushed that part of my business aside because, I fell into that thinking early on in my career, in the early 2000s. So can you do it this way? Can you get a warehouse and then you have to have equipment and forklifts and all that? You certainly can, but what are you doing when that takes place? You are increasing your overhead of the business. You're going now from a simple business to a more complicated business because you need equipment to break the pallets down. You need forklifts to move it around. You need pallet jacks possibly to move the stuff around. You need, rent on that stuff. You need nail guns. You need nails. You need backup nail guns in case one of them break. You need compressors. So now you need employees to help you repair stuff as well. So can you go that route? Can you make money on it? Yeah, but realize you are complicating your life by going that route. I'm not against it. I have students that had opportunities that part of their business came into fruition and they ran with it. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. But just realize that's what takes place when you go into the repairing of pallets. Okay? So the other scenario here, again, is the refurbishing of 4840 pallets as well. So that's, again, you need warehouse space, you need employees, you need these little green vests that they're walking around. You'll need the forklifts and pallet jacks and nail guns, all that type of stuff as well. Workstations. You have to break down pallets so you can cannibalize the other ones to get material to fix other pallets, saws, you name it. Okay? So that comes into play when you go that route. And some people think this is the only way to run the pallet business. It is a way. Is it the easiest way? I would say no. Okay? So then there's a whole other realm of the pallet game where people are just working with custom built spec pallets. Now, I never wanted to get personally into building pallets myself. I had a couple jobs that I did this. Again, it made me good money, very labor intensive. It required a lot of work. It was time consuming. But I did make some good money on it. But you have to buy the lumber. When you have an operation like this, the amount of lumber you have to buy and the expenditure of getting that lumber in and the price fluctuations that happen on a weekly basis, the fluctuation of lumber and the different grades of lumber, really puts you in a position where you have a large expenditure of money to make this happen, right? Is there profit in it? Absolutely. My solution to not having to build, and the way we teach it in the training as well as a solution for this, is to become a broker for spec pallets and become the middleman where we're not having to build them. We're not having to deliver them. But we are setting the deals up and making a cut on every pallet that's like on this truck. A markup is how it works. So we teach you how to set this type of situation up where you can get in this game but not have all the overhead that it takes to make it work. So you can make nice profits, great profits on spec pallets per pallet, and you don't have a ceiling of how many you can do. I have some students that are doing 5, 8 truckloads, semi-truckloads a week of spec pallets and lightly used pallets as well. So that is how I, critically thinking, solve the problem of me not having to have the operation but still making profit, and in fact, passive profit in the spec pallet building game. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If not, rewind and watch this part again, because there are passive income streams inside the Simplest Biz that are huge that people can participate and learn about to get into this game without having to have the full-blown operation. You can get into the full-blown operation, and it is big money, but realize the amount of cash flow and the amount of labor and the software to even have the correct labor on the right job, and the deadlines and the lumber purchases and the saws and the upgrade in the power to run the saws and the breakdown of the lumber, all of that comes into play. All that equipment comes into play. All that inventory comes into play. All that space comes into play when you run it this way. I've always wanted to keep this a simple business. So the way I've operated is in a different manner than going down this route. I didn't want to create a job for myself, even though you could make millions of dollars going this route, believe me. And I have students that do. So I'm not against it, just letting you know, informing you what is out there and what people who possibly criticize the pallet industry, they may only know this particular way of doing it. They don't know the other routes. So they'll say, oh, that's hard work. Well, there's a simpler way to do it where it's not as much hard work as well. You have that option. Again, this could be a buyer right here of spec built pallets with a huge order. Everything's brand new, milled wood, and they're ordering this type of quantity, on a weekly, monthly basis to ship their goods out. So again, we can broker this type of situation. Brokering as a passive income model within the Simplest Biz model to do this type of work, okay? Let's keep going, because we're going to go over a lot of different other scenarios. There's CHEP pallets. I'm going to briefly talk about CHEP pallets here real quick. Huge companies, multinational companies, Walmarts of the world, the Fortune 500 companies, sometimes have what's called a closed loop system. So like Walmart, they have distribution centers just for their pallets to move their items around, their own warehouses and distribution centers. And they, instead of buying pallets, they lease what's called a CHEP pallet. And they pay a small little amount per month per pallet. But they have to keep inventory of this pallet and not lose it, because if they lose any of these pallets, these blue ones, and it gets out of their loop, they owe CHEP like $70 per pallet. So they have a tight rein on this, and since their system is looped and they're moving stuff from their own warehouses to their stores, a lot of times they're not getting out of the system. Now, again, Walmart of the world not only will use this pallet, but they will generate normal pallets as well that can come into play. But that's the CHEP system. We're not in the CHEP system. And big, huge companies can go this route with closed systems because they don't ship this stuff out and never see it again. Otherwise, they'd be losing $65, $70 a pallet. So that's the CHEP game. That's not the game we're in. And do we need a huge multinational company to make our business work? No. We could have 4 or 5 mom and pops make this thing work on a local level. So let's get into the Simplest Biz scenario here. A lot of businesses that you're going to come across, tens and millions of businesses out there. You'll come into their property, and we guide you the types of places in the training that will have this type of scenario. Do you see a 4840 standard pallet in here? And even if you did, they're mixed in with all these other different styles. Well, for years, in the early years, 98, 99, whatever, I thought the 4840 was the only pallet as well. But then I started seeing all this other stuff out here by the gazillions, right? How can I monetize this? Because the pallet yards aren't taking, right? Because they're dealing with that 4840. So let's imagine this 2 stacks here were 4840s, but they had all this other stuff as well. Well, the pallet, the guy who only knows the 4840 and is selling to the pallet yard, he's getting just these 2 stacks, these imaginary stacks if they were 4840s. Okay? But he's not touching anything else. So for that supplier, that business that's generating these as a byproduct, is he a great solution for them? He's not. But if me and students of the Simplest Biz know how to move this type of stuff, all the different styles of them as well, without even having to sort them, we'll get into that in a minute. And you see this dunnage over here? Well, what if I could take that out as well? And this crate, and I could get that out as well? What is a better solution for that supplier? Who gets exclusivity? The guy who just gets 2 stacks? Or the guy who knows how to move all of them? Of course, the answer is obvious. Knowing how to move all different types of stuff, and then learning how to not even have to sort them and move them to directly to a buyer is the way I learned how to go. It made my life much more simple. Okay? So let's go on to this. Here's another example. You have some 4840s, but you also have some other styles of pallets, block style pallets as well. You even have some block 4840s, but you have a mixture. Again, if I approach this business with the tactics I know and I teach in the training of moving all these different styles, the wrong way, 4-runner pallet here, the block pallet, these blocks with no bottom boards, but I have buyers and I know who the buyers are for this, and I can take all of them. Am I a better solution for that supplier that generates these day after day, week after week? Yes. Whereas the other guy who's only selling to a pallet yard is going to get this pallet and this one on the bottom, knock stuff over trying to get it. He's going to get that one and that one. Maybe he can get a few of these block ones if he has a pallet yard that will buy the 4840 block. A lot of them don't. And that's it. And then he's leaving all of these. He's leaving a good many of these left behind for the business to have to deal with. Not a good deal, right? Not a good deal at all. And that's the issue. Again, next slide. You have a mixture of 4840s and you have 2-way pallets, and you have a supplier possibly here that generates these as a byproduct of their business that are just clogging up their property, that need this stuff gone. And we're going to offer and set the deal up in a certain way for where they want to use us instead of anybody else. I teach that in the training, to where I am the solution to this supplier. I'm not the guy just getting this pallet, this pallet, this pallet, this pallet, this pallet, and this pallet, and that pallet, and that pallet, and that one, and that one, right? If I had to do that, I would have to unstack these, grab these 2, unstack all these, grab that one, unstack these, grab these 2. No, I can deliver these directly to a customer as is if you know who to deal with and how to set the deal up. Okay? That's the difference. And I'm a better solution for this particular business. I am not in the 4840 game. I am not having to lift it. I'm not having to sort them, and I'm not having to store them, and I don't need an employee, because the forklift driver at the business that I'm dealing with is going to lift these and put these on the truck, and my exertion of effort is going to be to strap them down to my truck and drive 3, 4, or 5 blocks, half a mile to the buyer, and they're going to unload them with their forklift, and I'm going to write out an invoice and make $8 a piece per pallet, $9, $7, $10, depending on what the situation is. Okay? $12, $15, or more, depending if it's long pallets. And speaking of long pallets, here's a scenario where long pallets are being loaded onto a truck. These are 8 foot, I believe, and we have buyers. We know who buyers are. I know who buyers are for 8-foot pallets, where the guy who deals with these 4840s back here in the background aren't going to touch these. But if I know how to move these plus those, again, I'm reiterating the point, who is that supplier of that business that doesn't know what to do with them, want to work with? Okay? And now we're going to expand that even more as well in just a minute. Here's another scenario. of odd size pallets that buyers, we can have a buyer for. They're not 4-way 4840s. These are different size pallets. So you can have 4 runners on some of these as well. Heavy duty, nice pallets that there are buyers for. And let me reiterate one thing while I got a picture over here. I'll slide it over. So on this pic, it's my truck actually. You have all different sorts and sizes. You have wing size, you have different varieties, you have block pallets, and then you have some long pallets as well on this truckload. So these are going to go for around $15 a piece right here, 15 to 18. And then you have the other ones that are going around $8 to $8 and $59 a piece, right? So right here you have well close to $1,000+ on the truck without having to sort them and without having to lift them. We did have to strap them down, okay? And this is from 2 suppliers within a couple blocks of each other. So I wanted to show you that as an example of mixed loads. And again, I'll reiterate it with this picture as well. And this is no sorting and being directly put on my truck and going directly to a buyer without having to store them or repair them. So perfectly good, lightly used pallets that I'm taking directly to a buyer and writing out inventories. This, lastly, is a picture of the forklift driver loading them onto my truck. And like I said, all I'm going to be doing is strapping them down, and I'm just chatting with them, maybe guiding them a little bit as he's putting them on. With different styles, different sizes, and moving this type of load for quick money in short, small radiuses that we're working in. So those are just some examples of that I want you to understand a different way. Again, if I'm the guy who knows how to move this crate and these different sizes of pallets compared to the guy who just knows how to move this stack and maybe some of these and that's it, again, we're a better solution for the supplier. And you know why that's important? It's because once you have exclusivity for a supply, because you're a better solution, you have a running ATM of pallets, basically, money being generated on a daily basis for your business where no one else can touch it because you're the better solution for them. Okay? So now this is where we go next level in the Simplest Biz process. Suppliers like this and many others not only have pallets, but they have all different other items as well laying on their lot. And in the same frame, buyers a lot of times not only need pallets, but they need crates as well. So we didn't build these crates, but these are crates that we can get from one company that had no longer use for it. It's a byproduct, and we're taking it directly to a buyer that needs a lightly used crate. They don't have a care if it's been used before. They don't care if it has a stamp on it. They can buy it from me for a lot cheaper than having to have it built with brand new wood. So they love me, right? But I'm also supplying them with pallets. And so now I'm connected to them in 2 different ways, and I have 2 different revenue sources because they need pallets as well. Let's break it down even further. Corrugated boxes. And here's the thing I love about corrugated boxes. Lightly used corrugated boxes. They can buy these new, but they have to pay a premium price. The buyer will. But as you notice, the corrugated boxes are going on top of a pallet. So not only anytime a truck comes in, they're on any given pallet, they got 25 boxes as an example, and a pallet going out as well. So the inventory that I sell to them is shrinking on an hour-by-hour basis, and the pallets are shrinking in stacks because that's what they're using to put the boxes on, and it's gone, and they need more. So that's the constant cycle of this business with one buyer, okay? So a lot of times these businesses also need 55-gallon drums that they put on top of a pallet. So I'm selling them 55-gallon drums. I've sourced these, and I can get them, 95% of them for free, and some I'm paying a couple bucks for, but you can get 20, 25 bucks, 30 bucks a piece for these drums. So, and they're putting this on top of a pallet. So you see the beauty in it. Both of my items are going out the door when that stuff is shipped out and never to be seen again. Plastic drums as well. There's zillions of them across the country. We can sell these as well, lightly used. Dunnage. These are long pieces of lumber, okay, that can be used for certain situations, and I'll give you an example. But notice in the background while I'm here, pallets and dunnage, right? So this could be a supplier that generates its dunnage that I'm picking up, and I'm taking it directly to a buyer that needs not only dunnage but also pallets, and sometimes some other items that we're going to mention. The dunnage is used for certain situations like this. It's propping up long items so the forklift can get in there and lift up on these beams. Okay? IBC totes. Another supply that we can monetize. So we're not a one-hit wonder. We're a multi-pronged, multi-revenue stream, reoccurring revenue stream model. So these are another item that certain businesses need, including pallets as well, or dunnage, or crates, or all these other items, or 55-gallon drums as well. Gaylord boxes. Notice that they're on top of pallets. So when this stuff is shipped out from my buyer, both of these items are gone. They're going to need more. And I have two revenue streams coming in. Big money in Gaylord boxes. We can source these lightly used. They don't have to be brand new. We can save that company money and put these on top of the pallets. We sell them as well, and those are out the door. Wire reels. They go on top of pallets, right? And they use dunnage that we mentioned a moment ago to chalk those reels up when they put it on the pallet, okay, to keep it from moving if they're putting it on the flange side. So now we have a customer ordering dunnage, they're ordering wire reels, they're ordering Gaylord boxes for their waste, and they're ordering pallets on a weekly basis. This is a lot different way of doing a business than selling 4840s to a pallet yard, or having to have a warehouse to repair pallets, and it sounds like drudgery and work, and selling them in that manner. We are going directly from this supplier, this business that generates this as a byproduct, and going directly to the buyer that needs them week after week. So they're supplying these and generating a businesses. Right down the road, there's a buyer for these. Lightly used, nothing wrong with these. These aren't warped, they're in good shape, and they're ready to be used again by the buyer. And they're ready to be gotten rid of by the supplier. Supplier being an actual business that doesn't know what to do with them anymore. They don't want to have to deal with the disposal fees. So there's huge money, huge quantities of these wire reels that come into play. And again, just to reiterate, we have the dunnage chalking up on the truck and the wire reels, and then you even see more dunnage down here. So I love multiple revenue streams per business. And why? Because I don't have to continually find a new business to sell to. I can sell multiple items to the existing business, have a handful of them, and live a really good life, and be done by 10 o'clock in the morning, go play golf. That's the point. Or I can work all day and go and be a workaholic as well if I choose to. But we are selling by unit, not by hour. We're not selling our time by an hour. So if I can move a ton of pallets in a short period of time, plus dunnage, plus boxes, plus 55-gallon drums, in a short period of time, every one of these single pallets is making me a profit. If I got these pallets, these 10-foot pallets for free, and I sold them for $16 a piece, do the math. And it doesn't take long to have them loaded, move to the next business, a mile down the road. If you know what you're doing, you know how to set these deals up. And that's what the training is about, to get you in that position. Once you have the business set up, it is a rinse and repeat process. These pallets will be generated again next week, a new set of them, or every day of the week. They're generating this. They're taking their inventory off. The pallet, the 10-foot pallet, is sitting there, and they don't want to have to dispose of it. And we come in there as a solution. So industrial bags, the last thing I want to cover. There's another item on here that we can use as another revenue stream to sell to these businesses. So let's recap. There's ways of doing the pallet business. This is a 30-minute video. I just realized there are ways of doing the pallet business that are complicated, that are limited, and labor intensive. Some of them are money makers. I wanted my business to be simple. I teach people how to do it either way if they want. But doing it from point A to point B without all the complications is a good way of living life. And that's why a side hustle for me in the beginning turned into a 25-year career. And now I teach other people how to do it as well. So there's something to be said, be sticking to something that long. You don't stick with something that long if it is drudgery. And my whole goal in this whole process of doing this business model and staying excited about it is because I could giggle every time I had a load put on my truck with me having to lift a finger. And my exertion of effort was strapping some pallets down and driving a few blocks and having them unloaded and write an invoice book. While all the while, my suppliers and buyers thinking, oh, poor John, the pallet guy. Under the radar, unsexy, but a necessity for the world. And it touches everything on the planet. I think I've said enough. So if you see comments under my stuff again where people are, oh, it ain't that easy. You got to have a place to store stuff. You got to have a place to repair stuff. You got to have this. You got to have that. There are billions of pallets out there that need no repair. And even if there are some that repair, there's a way to monetize that part of the process anyway that we teach in the training without having to repair them, by the way. So not to be cryptic, but there's information in the course that you need to know. TheSimplestBiz.com. TheSimplestBiz.com. Fill out the form. Like this video if you could. Subscribe to this channel if you could. And hopefully make a phone call and ask your questions and get some more clarity about this business model. Have a good one. John out.